Hello, welcome to Sad and Fairy Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. This is the video where I talk about all my favorite and not so favorite books of the year. Tomorrow I'll be posting my stats video where I go into the nitty gritty, but for this one, I read 108 books this year, so the competition for these categories will be fierce. We have things like favorite indie book, favorite couple, most disappointing read, etc. So first of all, let's go through my favorite books of the month. I've also been posting these on Instagram, but here they are. So the first was The Crew. This was a fantasy comedy. It was self-published. I really enjoyed it. It's really funny. Next is Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is a hard sci-fi. It's obviously fantastic. You guys know. Hell's 8, which is the sequel to Ten Low, which is a kind of like gunslinger sci-fi. It's really fun. Then we have The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan, which is an epic fantasy. I absolutely loved it. We have Stargun Messenger, another self-published book. This is a kind of weird literary sci-fi. It's very interesting. I really like it. For the next month was On Earth as It Is on Television, which is kind of like a quirky contemporary sci-fi that I thought was like kind of nice. Then A Gallery for the Barbarian. As you know, I absolutely loved this book. It's a sword and sorcery fantasy, kind of weird gothic thing. I don't know. It's bizarre and I loved it. Then we have Green Fuse Burning, which is a Canadian novella. It's like an LGBTQ plus horror book with an Indigenous author. I thought it was fantastic. Then Bookshops and Bone Dust, which, as you know, my boy Satchel. And then Alice, which is a horror take on Alice in Wonderland. And then the Lessons Never Learned, which is part 2 of an epic series, dark fantasy series. And then Prompt Excursion, which is also self-published, which is one of the quarterfinalists for the SBSFC. I just reviewed it a couple weeks ago. I really loved that one for December. So yeah, those are my favorite books for the year. So I have to go through and pick my favorite. Narrowing it down was pretty easy to the top 3. So The Justice of Kings, Children of Time, and A Gallery for the Barbarian were my top 3. I also really loved Alice, so those were my semi-finalists. When it came to my favorite of the year, though, that was really, really hard. Barbarian is so surprising and weird and amazing. And then I loved the spider societal evolution and the generation ship ideas in Children of Time. They were so intricate and so fascinating. And The Justice of Kings, well, you know, as I said, I love both that and The Tyranny of Faith. I didn't put Tyranny of Faith on my monthly list because I didn't think it was fair to have like both parts of one book steal the top spot. But I can safely say that my favorite book of the year, I guess, was The Tyranny of Faith. I have it. I got it for Christmas. It's right here. I got them both for Christmas in paperback because I listened to them on audiobooks. So I'm so excited that I have them. And I have the arc of the third one coming out. I'm going to be reading at the end of January, so I'm so excited. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Congratulations, The Tyranny of Faith. You got my heart. So in order to keep more than just 3 books winning all the categories, I've decided that each book can only win 1 category. So Justice of Kings and Tyranny of Faith are out of the running as they get my favorite books of the year. I've lumped everything else into 3 types of categories, you know, the standard stuff, the fun stuff, YouTube stuff, not so happy outcomes, that's actually 4, but as we know, I can't count. So, the standard, first of all, my favorite covers of the year. I wasn't super obsessed with many covers this year, except for one, but these ones were the best ones in my opinion. The Faithless, The Surviving Sky, The Archive Undying, a book I didn't really like actually, The Barbarian book obviously, and Stargun Messenger I thought were really cool. But my favorite is The Faithless. I just love her expression, her stance, the colors. This cover is absolutely gorgeous. And when the 3rd book comes out, I think I'm going to buy all 3 of them because the covers are just, the unbroken cover's really cool too. So yeah, beautiful cover. Absolutely beautiful. Good job, Orbit. So, on to standard categories. So, my favorite sci-fi book of the year, I'm saving Children of Time for something else. So, it's Stargun Messenger. I really, really liked Stargun Messenger. I thought it was absolutely cool, and it was so interesting. I don't know, it was so different from a lot of books that I read. So, congratulations, Darby Han. Fantasy, that would be The Gardens of the Moon, which I reread. You can watch my vlog if you want. Yeah, I of all the fantasy books I read this year, rereading that one, I was just like, I understand why I loved this when I was like 20 years ago. So it was a joy to reread it. My favorite horror was obviously Alice, the one that was a a quarter or a semi-finalist in my rankings. I thought that book was so good. I couldn't put it down. It was just creepy, but it was all about overcoming or learning to live with trauma and using it to your advantage. And I don't know, it was so good. My favorite novella was Green Fuse Burning, also from my list. My favorite comedy was The Crew, also from my list. My favorite classic sci-fi was Cuckoo's Edge by C.J. Cherryh. I thought this book was so cool. The alien culture in it was fantastic. It had such an interesting kind of story arc for the main character. I really enjoyed it. Dread Companion by Andre Norton was a close second, but as I said, I just thought the kind of the story in Cuckoo's Edge was a bit more compelling. My favorite nonfiction, I actually listened to 3 nonfictions this year. So there was Regenesis and Come As You Are and Dopamine Nation. They were all really interesting, fascinating books, but the Regenesis and Come As You are the 2 that I really, really loved. One was about mitigating the damage caused by climate change to our soil and food production, and the other is about sexual health. For this one, I'm cheating and I'm giving them both my favorite because they're both so completely different and they're both so important. So you should check out both of them. My favorite Canadian book was Jawbone. I really loved Jawbone. It was a novella about this woman that just can't make any decisions, and it was really interesting and funny at times too. My favorite first in a series is The Children of Time. That book is an excellent start to a series, especially since I read the second one and it wasn't as great. I'm definitely going to read the third one, but no, Children of Time is an amazing book and I want to get it for my collection. Favorite second in a series is obviously Hell's 8 because it was on my list of top 12. And it's really good and it's really fun. I actually think I like it more than, I don't know if I like it more than 10 Low or not. I think I like them about the same. My favorite end to a series was The Pincers of Death by Toby Frost. I love this series. The Space Captain Smith series are so funny, and I just adore them. If you get a chance to read them, you totally should because they're so funny. My favorite standalone book was actually Prompt Excursion, the one that I reviewed a few weeks ago, and it's in the SPSFC. It's really good. It's fascinating. It's just really, really well done, well honed, very intricate. The writing is beautiful. It's got a whole lot going for it. Yeah. My favorite indie book, The Prince of the Wasteland. I really, really liked that one. I was looking through kind of my list of them and I was like, yeah. And then I was like, oh yeah, I really liked that one. So I'm happy to give this one a slot on my list here. You should check it out if you like really dark post-apocalyptic books. It's a novella too. My favorite LGBTQ plus book is obviously A Gallery for the Barbarian. I'm going to give that one the slot that it's due because I love that book. And I asked for it for Christmas, but I didn't get it. And I'm very upset and I want it. So, Santa, how dare you. My favorite apocalypse book was The Never Ending End of the World. I got this one from the publishers and it was really, really cool. It's in here. It's way up at the top. But that one's it's like a nice post-apocalyptic book about society like rebuilding and stuff. It has some Raider stuff, but not really. There's nothing really like triggering in it. I don't know. It was really nice and it was very compelling. I couldn't put it down. So my favorite main character would be from Once a Monster. Both main characters were extremely compelling. All of the characterization in this novel is completely spot on. It feels like a Dickinson novel. Everyone's very dense and complex, and I really recommend it if you like the Minotaur, if you like anything set in the 1860s. My favorite side characters. So first of all, there's 3 of my 3 favorites. There's Livia in The Gallery for the Barbarian, but obviously that's not going to get it. There's my boy Vopsy in Down Below Beyond. I really loved him. My space boyfriend. But my favorite side character is from The Lessons Never Learned, and that's Sarkis, the evil demon. I just absolutely love the relationship that develops between the main character and this demon that's inhabiting her. It was so much fun. I couldn't stop reading it. I loved it. And the demon is so funny. Onwards to kind of like fun stuff. So the book that made me cry, the only book that made me cry, was Immortal North 2, which is the sequel to Immortal North. I still can't go over the fact that he called it Immortal North 2. Just love it. I just love when things are called like numerals like that. This is the second part, and it totally is. It's really good. The first book was about something traumatic happening, and then the second book was about the grief and overcoming the grief. And if you are a parent and you are worried about dealing with something like a child, I think it's helpful because watching his journey through his grief and the realism of it and things like that is really compelling and helpful and sad, but also kind of makes you feel like it's not an impassable kind of thing. So the book that has the best aliens in it, obviously there's other books that are on this as well, but Stellar Instinct, I really love the aliens in this series. They're really fun. They're kind of new, but they're also very like understandable. They were really well done. They felt very normalized into the world. They felt like the world existed with them in it. It wasn't just like humans with face paint on, which is what I sometimes call ones that are very homogenous. They weren't homogenous at all. It was really fun. The most shipped couple for me was actually from The Salt Grows Heavy. So that's the play doctor and the mermaid. I loved their little relationship. I thought it was fantastic. It was subtle. It was kind of sweet despite the gore going on. It was kind of like there was a lot of tension. It was really well done. I want to read another one of her books just because of this. My favorite book crush, you guys know what it is. It's obviously Satchel from Bookstops and Bone Dust. Yes, the skeleton character. The book with the best found family was Down Below Beyond. There was just so many. Oh my god, my dog's just grunting and groaning in the background. They had just such a great kind of family dynamic, and I just really loved how everyone came together, and it was such a cute, fun book. And the biggest surprise, the book that was the biggest surprise to me, was Shark Heart. I can't believe how much I really, really loved that magical realism, because normally I find magical realism kind of annoying and silly. But no, I was really into this book, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, so that was the biggest surprise for me this year. My most disappointing read was Maeve Fly. This book was just so hyped up for me, and then it just became like a weird, dark romance with a character who was so hyperbolically unhinged. She just was so over the top. I was like, she's became unbelievable. She's also extremely unsympathetic. You know, the book was a balance for me. Like, the first third of the book was really good, but then it got like, I don't know, it became a weird mix of boring and disgusting. And not in disgusting in a way that felt like it was poignant or trying to say anything. I was just kind of like, I don't need this in my life. So yeah, that was my most disappointing read this year. One that I didn't DNF. I did DNF a couple. I DNF'd We Are Legion, that Bobby verse one. I couldn't get into it. I got maybe halfway through. I found the main character really obnoxious and the story very meandering, and I just was not like into it at all. So I'm not going to continue with the audiobook on that one. But I just want to say that this was a really, really great reading year, and thank you again. And thank you for, checking out my reviews. I really enjoy doing them. I think they're really fun. If there's anything you want to see me do more of or less of, let me know in the comments. Okay, do you guys want to see my dog? He's always annoying me in my videos. Come here, buddy. Okay, sit down. Okay, sit down. Sit down. Sit. Stay. Here he is. You say hi, Ruger? Say hi. He's like, no, I will not.